Cool. All right. Thank you all for being here. My name is Jared McClain. That's JARED MCCLAIN. I'm an attorney with the Institute for Justice. I'm here with Alisa Carr and Avery Marshall and my colleague Marie Miller. I'm going to introduce you real quick to IJ, what we do, why we're here, and then hand it over to Marie, and Marie will tell you a little bit about the case, and then Marie will pass it over to Lisa and Avery so they can tell you that share their story, and then we'll welcome any questions you have. So the Institute for Justice is a national nonprofit law firm. We bring cases, represent clients pro bono across the country. We focus on four main pillars, which include free speech, economic liberty, educational choice, and property rights, which is what brings us here today. A few years ago, like coming out of our property rights practice, we started doing a lot of SWAT cases, like when SWAT teams either raid the wrong house or raid an innocent person's house, and that got us into these wrong house raid cases, which is what brings us here today. And they implement the Fourth Amendment, the Takings Clause, and when the police show up and raid the wrong person's house, our position, which we don't think is very controversial, is that the government should be accountable and should compensate the victims of that wrong house raid. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Marie so she can tell you more about this case.
Thanks, Jared. Yes, good morning. My name is Marie Miller. That's MARIEMILLER. And I am an attorney at the Institute for Justice. And we're here today because an innocent family suffered a terrifying assault on their persons and home at the hands of their own government. Last year, on April 10th, at about 1 a.m., Alisa, Avery, and their kids had their home and their persons assaulted by sheriff's deputies from Lee and Pender counties. Sheriffs surrounded the home and banged on the front door, used a loudspeaker, and Avery was the first person to wake up and come check to see what the commotion was about. And as soon as he peeked through the blinds of a front window, officers stormed the house. They broke the front glass storm door, shattering glass, busted through an inner front door, threw two flashbang grenades into the home. One flashbang grenade bounced off Avery's chest and detonated nearby, burning a couch and a rug and causing Avery to temporarily lose hearing in his left ear. Officers ordered Avery to crawl where he had fallen on the floor, on the glass. He complied, and then officers entered the home and aimed firearms at the other three members of the family. One officer aimed a firearm at Alisa, who was wearing only her nightgown, ordered her to walk towards the officer. She did with her hands up. Another officer went to Alisa and Avery's 9-year-old son's bedroom, shouted profanities at him, aimed a firearm at him, and Avery, seeing a laser scope on his son's face, pleaded with the officers that the boy was only a 9-year-old child. The officer picked up the boy and carried him outside. Another officer kicked in the bedroom door of Alisa and Avery's 16-year-old daughter, shouted at her, aimed a firearm at her, ordered her to go outside. She was wearing only her underwear and a t-shirt, no shoes. She walked on the broken glass, to exit the home. Officers interrogated the children outside, separated from their parents and separated from each other. And officers then handcuffed Avery with his hands behind his back and yanked him to his feet. Now, Avery had recently undergone back surgery. He was shirtless, and the wound from his surgery was exposed on his back along with stitches. An officer had stepped on Avery's back when Avery was pleading with the officer that his son was only 9 years old. So now the officer yanks Avery to his feet, sits him in a chair, and interrogates him. The officers are interrogating this family about a man named Joseph Clark Jr., asking the family if he had ever been in the house and if he was there. The family had no idea who this person was. The man had never been there and had no connection to the family. The officers had been investigating a series of crimes involving breaking into unlocked vehicles and stealing property from inside those vehicles. And the officers had learned that the suspect's name was Joseph Clark Jr. They learned the suspect's birth date, they learned what his phone number was, and they learned from security camera footage and the suspect's father that Joseph Clark Jr. had been driving a dark-colored SUV at one time, and at another time had been riding with his sister in a gray Nissan passenger car. Officers also learned from cell phone location data that the suspect's phone had pinged in Avery and Alisa's neighborhood, within 52 meters of their address. But the officers did not have a more precise location for the suspect. They had only that 52-meter radius. And at least 5 other properties and a public road lie within that radius, along with Alisa and Avery's address. So officers did not have probable cause to search any one of those properties. And why did they target Alisa and Avery's property? Because officers drove past their property and saw Alisa's car parked in front of her own house. Officers told a judge falsely that her vehicle, Alisa's vehicle, was the very car that the suspect's father had described to the officers. But the two vehicles are not even close to being one and the same. The officers knew a specific the officers knew a specific license plate for the car that they were looking for. And they could have easily learned or knew already that that vehicle was a 2007 Nissan Sentra, a medium dark gray, registered to Clark or one of his relatives. Now, Alisa's car is not even close to that. Her car is a different color. It's 10 years newer than the suspect's Sentra. It's an Altima, not a Sentra, and it is registered to her at her address. So no reasonable officer could have mistaken Alisa's car for the suspect vehicle, and no reasonable officer could have honestly sworn to a judge that he saw the suspect vehicle at Alisa and Avery's house. And yet the officers did just that. They swore to a judge that they saw the very vehicle that they were looking for at Alisa and Avery's house. That was flatly false. The officers also failed to inform the judge that at least 5 other properties and a public road lie within the radius where the cell phone location data placed the suspect's phone. Now, this means that the raid on Alisa and Avery's home and their family suffered multiple unconstitutional problems. First, the raid itself was unconstitutional. The Fourth Amendment's warrants clause prohibits officers from making material false statements in a probable cause affidavit deliberately or with reckless disregard for the truth, and for omitting information in a probable cause affidavit that makes the affidavit misleading, deliberately or again with reckless disregard for the truth. And that's exactly what the officers did here with the vehicle information and with the cell phone location data. The officers, through their dishonesty, duped a judge into issuing a warrant to search Avery and Alisa's house when the family has absolutely no connection to the suspect they were looking for, and the officers had no probable cause to search the home. But the problems with the raid don't end there, because even if the raid had been constitutional, Avery and Alisa, as innocent victims here, should not have to shoulder the costs of the law enforcement endeavor performed at their property. The officers not only damaged the front storm door and inner door of the house, they also damaged bedroom doors, flooring, furniture, insulation, and walls. And Avery and Alisa should not have to pay for that damage. The Fifth Amendment and the North Carolina Constitution both require just compensation from the government for the taking of private property for a public use, and that is exactly what happened here. Now, I'd like to turn things over to Alisa and Avery to explain how this raid has affected them and why they are working with the Institute for Justice on this case.
Hi, my name is Avery Marshall. Um, it affected me mentally, all us mentally, and physically. Um, I have to go and have another surgery due to what happened in the house tonight. Um, and the kids and everybody in the house are now having to um, seek psychiatric help, and we're just can't nobody can sleep at night, not knowing if someone else is going to come back in the house. Our doors and stuff are not secured, and it's just tore everything up um, mentally. It's something.
I used to believe in I used to believe in the police, the law of coming and taking care of you. But since this incident, I just don't want to look their way. I could be going somewhere and I turn my head because it just brings back everything. And this happened a year ago. Me and the kids are and Avery are affected bad. Every time we talk about it or think about it, we just cannot function. I've had a heart attack since the raid. I've had to go to the doctor for a panic attack. I'm on medication to help me. They came in the house at 1 a.m. when you're out, sleep, comfortable. I don't know how you would feel if someone comes in, gun pointing at you, a flash bomb going off, and saying raise your hands at 1 a.m. I didn't think it was happening because I thought I was dreaming. I put my hands up just like they asked and walked towards them. They was constantly drilling me about some man I didn't know, haven't seen, never heard of, but they wanted to make me believe that this man had been to my house because they pinged his cell phone. They were on me like they wanted to put it in my head and wanted me to say, I knew this man, or I went to this location with this man, and I never heard of him. I sat down in a chair with them and they grilled me and grilled me. And it's really, sometimes I don't know what to do. I sit and just think about it. If one thing would have went wrong, we wouldn't be here today. Because normally Avery would have his gun loaded because home invasions are happening more and more. The gun was loaded by the side, but he didn't take it when he went to check what was going on. All this noise and banging on the door, he didn't go. I think God was looking out for us because he could have went and made one shot and we wouldn't be here today. But he didn't take the gun. Every night I go to sleep, I thank God for waking us up and putting us on a good track. Um, I keep thinking it's going to happen again. This is something that I can't forget. I try so hard. I work with my kids. I try to do activities, and sometimes we be riding. My kids say, "Mom, that's the police people that no, it's not them." I really don't know all their names. I said, but you know what? We're gonna be okay. We're gonna keep going to therapy and get over this and try to live a good life. That night I did have a panic attack. It took me to shortness of breath, and they had to send me away to the hospital, the emergency room. My daughter and my mother-in-law came to check on me while Avery was still at the house. Avery knows I have a bad heart condition, so he didn't tell me everything. Or he tried to get the house back straight before I got there. I came back and it was just a little, it was moved around things, but I didn't know what happened with them flipping the mattress and going through drawers. An individual wouldn't have been in our dresser drawers. Why did you have to throw all our stuff over the floor, tear our house up? I'm glad that it's a law out here that would defend us because it's not right. I used to look at the shows where this happens to someone and I feel sorry for them. But now I feel their pain. I know how you feel. And I'm sorry for you getting your home raided because it's very painful. It hurts. My children are hurt. Think about if it was you in that situation and your family went through this. I would never wish this on nobody. And we are here today to thank the legal system. And we're going to work on this together to pursue something. Avery had back surgery. And when they was drilling me sitting at the table, I looked down and it was all this glass on the floor. And Avery was handcuffed, laying in the glass. And a police officer took his foot and propped it on his back. That's why did you do that? That didn't have to happen. He had surgeries and stitches in his back. And they took their foot and put it in his back, glass on his stomach. So when the man was drilling me, I told him, I said, Avery had back surgery. Oh, yeah. And, he was screaming, because of the glass. So finally they got him up and sit him in the chair next to me. And he told them, she has heart problems, congestive heart failure. She doesn't know nothing. Leave her alone. So they took the handcuffs off of Avery. We wasn't even dressed. They wanted me to walk a class by on glass, and I told him I can't walk in the glass. And he was like, "Oh, where are your shoes?" And I said, "On the back door." So he went and got my shoes and threw them down on the floor for me to put my foot in them. But I watched Avery sit there, and I said to myself, "I am so glad that he didn't have the gun with him when he went to that door, because I would have lost someone that's very important to me that night. And we probably all wouldn't have made it. So God is watching over us through this bad ordeal. My children are in therapy. My daughter, she tries to get involved in a whole lot of activities to get away so she don't have to be in the house. And I told her, I said, it's okay, we're gonna make it. My son, he has to have lights and TVs on. He can't believe what the police did. He always told me he wanted to be a police officer. But he said, Mommy, if a police officer does this, I don't want to be a police officer. And I said, Mommy don't want you to be a police officer. Try and find something else to do, baby. And he said he would. That ordeal is with all of us. And we all gonna have to work together with it and try to get our life back on the right track. I know Avery wanted to do as much as he could during the ordeal, but they just handcuffed him right away. Um, I don't know how the legal system works with everything, but I've been reading up on things, trying to get my knowledge. I just hope this doesn't happen to no one else. Our house is damaged and we need it fixed.
So I think you're seeing that this entire raid ultimately was one huge inexcusable error, and this family is now standing up for their rights. They're trying to hold the responsible government entities accountable and try to ensure that this doesn't happen to any other innocent family. So we'll open things up for questions now for Jared, for me, or for Alisa and Avery.
Who reached out to who? Did Alisa and Avery, did you reach out to the Institute for Justice or did you guys reach out to the family?
I believe what happened was we saw a news article about the incident and reached out to an attorney that they knew at the time to get in touch with them.
Have you been compensated for any of the damages? Have you heard from the Pender or Lee County Sheriff's Office since this happened a year ago?
No, we haven't been compensated. We they sent out their people to do an evaluation on what was damaged, and we sent in our part, and they denied it. Neither county, Lee County or Pender County, they denied it. They don't want to fix our home.
Now, I'll add a little bit to that.
Okay.
So we submitted to the county's preliminary estimate of the property damage, and the county's representative um, indicated that the counties would pay a portion of it only if Alisa and Avery gave up all of their claims against anyone arising from the incident. Alisa and Avery are not willing to sweep this matter under the rug and increase the risk that this could happen to someone else just to get a portion of what they're entitled to. And the Fifth Amendment and the North Carolina Constitution require just compensation with no strings attached, not with a condition that you give up all of your other rights.
And that was coming from the Pender and Lee both, or one or the other?
The Lee and Pender counties collective representative.
Okay.
Are you able to disclose how much damage, financially that this caused to the home?
As of now, approximately at least $11,000. The damage continues to increase with every storm because the front entrance is not secure. It has cracks. Water comes in through the front door, causing water damage to the flooring, to the walls. Mosquitoes and flies come in. So the damage continues to increase as the governments continue to refuse to compensate.
And that's separate from any medical bills, things of that nature?
Right. That is property damage alone.
Have you made any repairs since then?
No, we haven't made none.
Wow. Do you have a number in mind of what you're asking for besides the 11,000?
No, we're asking for compensatory damages. So the amount that it has caused, the damage that it was caused, and nominal damages. But we have not put a specific number on the total.
And Miss Alisa, you talked about how, before this incident, you trusted law enforcement to keep you safe. And, now you have a different view of law enforcement. It's, after this traumatic event. Does it surprise you the blazing kind of attitude that they had in just not believing you when y'all said, we have nothing to do with this?
Yeah, it was crazy because we kept telling them we didn't know, but they wanted to make us know this first. They wanted to put it in our mouth.
Do you mind saying that answer again? Just
Yeah.
so we make sure we can hear you.
Yes. Now I don't. I just look the other way and go about my business, and I'm gonna have to take care of myself.
Marie, just want to wrap it up with like a quick thank you for coming in Osaka.
Thank you for coming. Again, we're here because this innocent family suffered a terrorizing assault on them and their home. And they want to hold the government accountable for their inexcusable error. Um, and the pain continues. The property damage is a constant reminder of what happened a year ago. And so hopefully through this lawsuit, the family can start to have some healing and find some justice.